Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Business Spotlight. I'm Todd Rodden. I'm a certified business and executive coach. I own Aspire Action Coach here in the Dayton, Ohio area. And I think you're going to enjoy our conversation today here with entrepreneur Jake Sydnor, who is the founder and president of StaffingKey. So you're here somebody with a wealth of experience in the staffing industry who jumped out on his own, built his own company, and will share his journey and story there for all our listeners. So if you're a first-time viewer, we're thrilled to have you join us. We hope you hit the like button, but if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button so you can receive more messages in our Business Spotlight series like you're going to get from Jake today. So with that, without further ado, Jake Sydnor, take a minute, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about your business, StaffingKey, and how did you get started in staffing?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to have some discussions today. I got started in staffing a little bit after I graduated from college. It's been about 7 or 8 years that I've been in the industry. Started in the travel nursing realm, and now with StaffingKey, we actually staff international nurses. So it's going to be really Canadian RNs that we focus on, bringing into the United States to help fill those much needed roles. We're located in Cincinnati. I'm from Cincinnati, born and raised, and really love being in this industry.
So what do you love about it so much?
Well, there's a lot of relationship building, which if you're someone who likes to be, or if you're a little bit more extroverted, it really is kind of the job for you. And that's something that I kind of found out early because I wasn't always in a role where I could talk to people all the time. And I felt I'd come home from work and I'd have to talk a lot. But, now in a role where, I'm talking to people, building relationships every day. It's something that's really fun, getting to learn more about people, telling them about myself, and finding an opportunity that, is going to be a fit for them. And with StaffingKey and bringing these Canadian RNs in the US, it's really satisfying to really help find an opportunity for them and help them get into the United States, into an opportunity and community that they're looking forward to being in.
Well, hey, thanks. That's a great lead in to what I was thinking about for the next question, which is tell us a little bit about who your target customers are and what's the pain point that you solve for them.
Yeah, so our target clients are going to be hospital systems, and we staff everywhere across the United States. Some states are going to be of more interest to these Canadians than others, of course. I mean, that's, how it typically is even with travel nursing. But, what are the differences with us is that these are going to be full-time employees that these hospitals are bringing on. It's not, the same status quo where they're bringing on travel nurses for just a few months at a time. These are going to be people who are committed to the hospital system that they're coming to. They're committed to that community, and they're committed to growing, in a career at those facilities.
Maybe take a second and maybe share a little bit around kind of what the staffing challenges that a hospital system has. Right?
Yeah, so some of the issues that they typically see is that there is a huge nursing shortage in the United States that keeps growing every year. And so there is a challenge for the leadership of this hospital to kind of find the staff, to fill those roles. There's only so many people who are going to college to be, nurses each year. And so this is a unique opportunity to bring Canadian RNs into the US to help fill these roles, compared to using the traditional routes of the travel nursing where they are spending a lot more on those nurses. And if we can all remember from, COVID, when, the nurses were making quite a bit of money during that period, it did harm the hospital systems as far as the affordability for their staff, went. But, this is an opportunity where they can really bring someone on, and it's going to be more of a long-term fix rather than short-term, which the industry has kind of relied on for quite some time now.
Okay. So building upon that, what makes your firm unique and separates from maybe other staffing approaches?
Yeah. So what makes our company unique is that we utilize the Canadian RNs that I mentioned. And so that's not something that many staffing companies utilize. Not all of them know how the visa process can work, how it can be utilize for these hospital systems, and how quickly it can all kind of come to fruition for the hospital systems. Now, it's not something that happens overnight. It doesn't take 1 to 2 weeks. It is something where it does take 2 to 3 months. But in the long run, that is not really that long of a time to wait for a quality nurse.
So in a relatively short period of time, you can provide them with a highly educated, trained nurse that can become full-time, not somebody who's just kind of here or there and on a part-time basis.
Exactly.
So how do you build your customer base? What are the best marketing strategies for you at StaffingKey?
Yeah, so the best way is actually through email. We've realized, of course, in sales, you're always going to be on the phone. You want to email, you want to reach out to those clients. And really, there are a lot of gatekeepers that you've got to get through, which you totally understand because they're getting calls from a lot of people all the time. But when you do feel like you've got a product or a service that is really, going to help the facility, it can be, hard to get through. But with emails, that's something that, can be less aggressive, and they can take their time to get back to you. And then when you do have the opportunity to speak to them and you're able to provide them with the actual information that you can provide, that's where it's the game changer there. And then with our candidates, we actually utilize Facebook a lot. So nurses do typically spend some of their time on Facebook. I mean, most people do spend their time, a little bit of time, especially like during breaks. But yeah,
more than we typically admit to, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, that's an opportunity, where we are able to post our ads through Facebook and able to connect and reach out and meet these, candidates virtually to, hear more about them, what they're looking for, and tell them more about us.
So you talked about leveraging email, but the key is to get a hold of gatekeepers. So how are you able to get a hold of the gatekeepers? Because some of these hospital groups can be pretty large, right? So finding the right players, how do you break through that?
Oh yeah. So sometimes you've got to talk to HR. Sometimes it goes through a whole different division than what you'd even think through, like purchasing. So there are quite a few people that you might need to reach out to really get to the real decision makers there. Which sometimes it's the CNO, sometimes it's the president, sometimes it's the CEO of the hospital. So not every CEO is going to be willing to get on the phone with every single service provider out there. So that's why email typically ends up being, the biggest key to success with connecting to the decision makers.
Okay. You talked about how much you love building relationships and that. So once you get that contact, right, you kind of get the door to be open. How then do you best build relationships with those?
Oh yeah. So, I mean, it's going to be through, relating to them and, hearing more about what their struggles as a facility, what those struggles might be. Not every hospital is in a shortage or in a nursing shortage. Like some of the smaller rural hospitals, they, it might not be for them. They might not have as much of an issue as some of these larger facilities, may have. So that's, key as well, is to really understanding who you're talking to, what the client need really is. I'm not going to push, all these med surg nurses if they're needing ER nurses. So some facilities, they need units all across the board where they need ER, they need ICU, they need telemetry, cardiology nurses. Some of them, they only need 20 med surg nurses, that would fulfill what their needs are. And, getting them there and getting those qualified Canadian RNs, could be a huge change for them, and can end up being a huge morale booster for the rest of their staff.
All right. Hey, thanks. I appreciate that background. So any entrepreneurial journey, it's got some twists in the road, some hills and some valleys. What's been a key obstacle you've had to overcome, and what did you learn from it?
Well, I'd say probably my biggest obstacle so far was thinking of operating the company like the company that I came from, which was $1 billion company. And you have to realize that you are just starting out. Obviously, you're not going to be $1 billion company within even a few short years. I mean, maybe, but not likely. So you've got to really scale yourself down, which, I probably bit off more than I could chew right at the beginning, and was thinking of how I could build this all out, and the players that I need, and who needs to go where, and how to build this out. And really it was more of realizing, okay, Jake, you need to slow it down here, and grow in the areas that you can grow in now, and not be focused on competing with the $1 billion companies that are out there. It's just not realistic. But learning from those early mistakes, that's going to be key, in order for the company to be successful.
So, kind of go a little deeper on that. How did you figure out where it made the most sense for you to grow? You said grow where you can grow. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that I thought that we needed to spend a lot of money on these leads, and spend a lot. It was mostly about spending a lot of money that it didn't necessarily need to happen. That you can be creative, and you don't need to have the best of the best products. You can make do with Excel. Sometimes
Okay.
you don't need to buy a subscription for something that's going to cost the company $1,000 a month. That's just fancy Excel or something. So it's like, if you can track candidates on an Excel spreadsheet, you don't need to, buy this huge program, to start off, when, there are only 4 or 5 people who are working with the company anyway. It'd be different if you've got 40 to 50 people and you do need to track a lot more information and data, but maybe that time will come.
Okay. Yep. Can't wait to see it. So speaking kind of what's to come, what's the challenge that you have in front of you? If I could give you a magic wand and you could make one challenge go away, one problem go away, what would that be?
So probably it would be, just getting in front of more clients, and being able to get past those gatekeepers that I mentioned initially. I mean, there's no secret, to getting there. It's just a lot of hard work, and a lot of, kind of being annoying. You really have to show them what product and service that you're providing. You don't want to be too annoying, to where they don't want anything to do with you. But continue to check in with them, continue to stay up to date with them, following back up, and seeing the right time for the opportunity, because a lot of it is timing. So I mean, it might not be the right time when you first try to reach out to them, but 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, 3 years, 9 years down the road, you could be exactly what they're looking for, and they didn't know it.
Yeah. Their staffing challenges change over time, so to maintain that contact. So you're roughly what, a year or so into this now? What's your longer term vision?
Yeah, so the longer term vision is to continue to build trust within the industry, and build ourselves as a real competitor, for staffing, and being able to work with more facilities across the country, and ultimately helping those communities, and helping the Canadian RNs who want to come to the United States. Like I said, there's a lot of satisfaction being able to help somebody get an opportunity that they're looking for, where they might be in an opportunity in Canada right now where they're not making as much as they would be making in the US. And so, they're very eager for that financial benefit. They're very eager for, just the community benefit, the benefit of, being in the United States. Maybe they've got other family who are in the area in the United States. So there's, a lot of opportunity, for growth, for the company, to build those relationships, and to help those individuals, and to help the facilities. So it's really a win-win.
So do you see right now, say, a lot of ample growth still focusing on the Canadian market and Canadian nurses, or do you see branching out into other services, other staffing solutions, other types of roles?
Yeah, so that might go back to the biting off more than I can chew type situation,
We love to do that.
where, of course, that is a direction that I want to go, and I think it would be great to have multiple avenues, but really I want to focus on the Canadian RN side right now. There's a lot of opportunity for the Canadian RNs. They are unfortunately facing a pretty tough economic situation in Canada. So they are wanting to take a look at these opportunities in the United States. So that's where our focus is right now. But who's to say, years down the road, 2, 3, 5 years, that we might be staffing several different industries.
Yeah. All right, thank you. So I'm curious your view on team. Yeah, you mentioned, hey, you came from a much larger institution, big teams, big organizations. Now on your own, much smaller team. So how do you think about managing the team you have, how you retain them, how you reward them, the like?
Yeah, so I think that it's a lot of getting the right people in the right spots, having people who are eager to grow something with you. That's something that I've learned a lot about recently is people who are invested in you and who are invested in the company. Because when you're a startup, it's completely different than when you're already a developed company, of course. So there's a lot of trust that you put in each other. Absolutely, right off the bat too, because you're not always going to be able to offer the same things that competitors can offer right off the bat, but it's trusting that they will be able to grow with this company as well. And so that's really what I look for in my team, and really looking for the people who want that opportunity to grow.
What kind of roles you have on the team?
So we have someone who handles marketing. We have someone who does HR and billing. We have someone who handles the onboarding, really, for these Canadian RNs, making sure that their visas are being worked on and they're able to kind of coach them through the process or reach out on their behalf, because you can be added as what they call an authorized agent. And so we can essentially go in and see where they're at with their process for their visa, or as far as the first step for the visa, which is called the visa screen. But we're able to, see where they're at with the visa screen and, really assist them through that role. So that's pretty much where what we have right now. I would love to continue to grow the sales team in the future. But again, it's about being patient.
Yeah, no, very wise, very prudent. Right, on your behalf, right? It's easy to get too far ahead of ourselves. So
Exactly.
So what would be your advice to other entrepreneurs? Now, you're into this. We got a lot of other folks who watch these who are newer entrepreneurs as well. What's one or two pieces of advice would you want to pass along?
I think that the biggest is to ask for help, ask questions, continue to learn. The biggest benefit for me, was reaching out to the local small business development agency, and you don't know what you don't know. So really reaching out and saying, hey, what do I need to do to run this business? What do I need to do to make this successful? I know how to recruit. I know how to sell. I know how to do, the X, Y, and Z from staffing. What I don't know how to do is taxes and, a lot of the back room or the back office stuff that, I don't have a background in. So it's really asking questions and learning, and not being scared to ask for help and fail a little bit, I guess, along the way. But yeah, I would say if it were two things, it would be to ask for help, and the second would be to continue to learn.
Okay. So on your learning journey, is there any books, podcasts, anybody you listen to, anything like that kind of helps keep you fed on that growth journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm actually reading the 48 Laws of Power here. So listening to it mostly, but being able to learn a little bit more. You can use that for sales. Now, I mean, it can be a little aggressive if you're familiar with that book, but it's a great book. It talks about how a lot of leaders have utilized some of the pillars in that book for their success. Now, again, it's not every single thing in there. Like I said, it can be a little aggressive. So not everything in there, is something to utilize. But you can learn from mistakes, absolutely from that book and some of the other entrepreneurial books that are out there.
Okay. Well, like any book or speech or anything like that, if you can just walk away with one or two good, impactful, actionable items, hey, that's a win. That's right. You take that and move forward. So it's good. So as we look to wrap up here today, what are the best ways for folks to learn more about you and Staffing Key, and in order to stay connected?
Yeah, so they can go to our website, staffingkey.com. And we're also on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. Those would be the areas or the best places to go to learn more about us and to stay up to date with us and, to get in contact with us if they are a Canadian RN looking for an opportunity in the US, or if they might be someone who is looking to help their staffing needs at their hospital.
Great. Great. So as we wrap here, Jake, what are you inspired by today?
So I am inspired by really my wife and my son. My wife is a stay-at-home mom with him, and luckily, I get to work from home as well. So being able to see her in her element, really inspires me. And seeing his growth and his development. He's 1 year. He just turned 1 year old.
Okay.
So it's been a blast. So I mean, that's definitely something that inspires me every day.
Oh, exciting times. Yes, they grow and change so much just every day. So, okay. Well, Jake Sydnor, thrilled to have you join us. Great story. I'm excited to learn more as you move forward with this, right? Because it's a staffing challenge that's across the U.S. Probably not going to go away anytime soon, unfortunately, right? And so a great solution service you provide to the healthcare industry, and excited to see the future for you. And I get some great tidbits and learning elements for other business owners listening to this series. So thank you for joining us today.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much, Todd. I really appreciate the conversation.
All right. And to our viewers, we're thrilled that you joined us today as well. And again, we encourage you to hit that subscribe button to receive future messages. And of course, hit that like button as well. We appreciate that. That helps feed our algorithms. It's like everybody else. So again, we thank you for joining us, and thank you, Jake. And we wish you all a terrific day.